consistently able to make the difference than this one. And I'm not sure that you heard what I said, but make the difference. And you need a perfect run or close to match a really good competitor. She's got you. You need a starting line advantage because you're covered, right? Because the other guy has got you covered. She's got you, right? It is, I've never in my life seen anything like it. Friends, let's welcome who I believe to be the best driver in drag racing today, and without question, inarguably the greatest female race car driver of all time in any form of motorsports, the one and only Erica Enders. What's going on, Erica?
Hey, Wes. How are you?
We are wonderful. I appreciate you being patient and working with us on the time here. We're bouncing all over the place. First and foremost, congrats. It seems like all we do is send you congratulations texts, right? It's a lot of victories that you guys have been blessed to celebrate back-to-back at the U.S. Nationals for a multitude of reasons. Last year felt like it was going to be hard to top, right? I mean, you guys had like the president's son in the house. You had like 6 cars. I mean, it was just a huge production over in the Elite Motorsports pit. But so few people are able to repeat going back to back. I mean, we saw it with the Super Bowl this year. It looked by all accounts like the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes had this deal in the bag. But going back to back, doing it twice is so incredibly difficult. And to do it on a whole shot, I mean, what did going back to back, what did doing it 2 times in a row mean to you, Erica?
It's definitely pretty significant. I mean, in our 3rd final in a row, if you count that heartbreaking loss to Alex in 2019. So, I mean, we knew it was going to be crucial to win there. 1.5 points, the last regular season race before the countdown starts. And as you know, momentum is huge in our game. So we definitely wanted to start off on the right foot. I've done a number of interviews this week, and every single one of them I've said this, but I said it wasn't pretty, but we'll take it because we've been on the wrong side of the win light a lot of times. And I definitely did not give an A+ performance as I normally do in high pressure situations. You can count on me to be 00 every time. And Sunday, I wasn't there, but we were good enough to get it done. We were there for the taking when it mattered. And sometimes that's all that's required. So the U.S. Nationals, again, the biggest drag race in the world, the Super Bowl of drag racing. And, it means a lot to everybody. And from people on the outside looking in, it's so hard to get that point across. But awesome job by my team. I want to talk about Mark Ingersoll for a second. This man is a giant killer. He has 30 some odd years of experience.
You're going to steal my question.
What?
Listen to this question.
Okay.
I said, maybe this one is for the hardcores, because I know not everybody that watches the show is like a diehard door slammer guy like myself and many of the people that watch this show. But you're about to steal my question, and I'm going to interject this because I want to say this. Okay. Over the course of the last several years, we've grown accustomed to seeing Rick Jones, Big Rick, standing behind your car, yelling in your ear, getting you up on the wheel, as he likes to say. In 2021, it's Mark Ingersoll standing behind that car. I'm as big of a Mark Ingersoll fan as exists. I was having this conversation before the show that Mark is as hardcore of a drag race. This is the drag racingest mofo I've ever encountered. He doesn't have outside interests, right? I mean, he doesn't have hobbies or anything else that he wants to do. Mark Ingersoll, all he cares about is pro stock drag racing. And personally, I'm not sure that people understand how significant of a role he plays on the whole at Elite Motorsports, not just on your car, but the overall success of the team. So what can you say for us about Mark Ingersoll, Erica?
The best, most passionate guy in the whole world. And I think you summed it up perfectly. Like this is it for him. This is all that he wants to do. And that's why he's the absolute best at it. Before he came to Elite Motorsports, he tuned Alan Johnson to a world championship. He tuned Jed Coughlin to a world championship over at Alan Johnson Racing. So he is extremely capable. His father is Buddy Ingersoll, who is a huge name in our sport and a legend. And he grew up at the racetrack. So I think like a lot of us, like that's why we have the passion that we have. But I know how competitive I am and how badly I want to win and how I act as if this is the only thing in life that matters, which it doesn't, but that's how I feel and that's how I act. Well, Mark Ingersoll is 300,000 times that. Like he gets emotional. He gets pissed off. He'll walk off the starting line and offer somebody an ass whooping. He'll pull his hat down so many times that he rips the seams in it. He's an amazing guy. He's super passionate. And on Sunday, he carried me. He absolutely carried me. He gave me the confidence that I needed by having confidence in himself and in my crew members. So I can't say enough about him. Rick and Ricky Jones are still part of our program. They're hard at work back in Galesburg, Illinois at RJ Race Cars and Quartermax. And we get a lot of questions about why they're not here, and they're for personal reasons, but they are absolutely still part of our program. And Rick is my guy. He called to give me a pep talk on the way to the airport going to the U.S. Nationals, and he was one of my first phone calls when I got out of the car on Sunday. So I don't want to act like we're forgetting about them because they're an intricate part of this program as well. But Mark is the man.
It's been really cool to see because Mark has a hand in all those cars, right? Every car that operates under the Elite Motorsports umbrella, he wants the best for every team there. But to see him kind of wearing the red shirt, right, backing you up, little left, little right, little left, straight, right there, he is so into it, and I love the passion and enthusiasm he has for this sport, and it's great to see him having the success alongside yourself that he is, because guys like that who have paid their dues and done this and like you said, grew up at the racetrack. This is all he's ever known. He doesn't have some other hobby he's looking forward to doing when the racing's over. This is what God put him on the planet to do, and it's been fantastic to see him do it at such a high level. As young as you are, you've been in this game for a long time, right? I mean, you've raced against the best in our business. I mean, you did battle against the Warren Johnsons. I mean, you've raced against everybody for the most part worth racing in pro stock. But today's pro stock is different, right? Today's pro stock is much different than what many of us are used to. This is a class that for the longest time was known as something of a yacht club, old guys club. It was older dudes. When you think of pro stock, you'd think of V Gaines, a well-to-do business owner with a cigar in his mouth flying into the races. Pro stock's much different here in 2021. It's full of youth, a seemingly renewed energy, a newfound momentum and interest. What do you make of the pro stock contingent in 2021? All these young guns, Kyle Koretsky, Mason McGahey, TJ Coughlin, of course, Troy Jr. I mean, there's a slew of them. Aaron Stanfield, Dallas Glenn. I mean, I never thought I would see the day that I'm losing track of all the young people that I need to name drop, and that's excluding Fernando and Christian Quadra. I mean, there's a slew of young talent in this class right now. What do you make of the pro stock division in 2021?
It's definitely a different landscape than it has ever been before. When I first came on the scene in 2004, testing and getting my license, we made our pro debut in 2005. I competed against Warren Johnson. I worked with Bob Glidden, who drove a car for Jim Cunningham under the same camp that I was driving for a number of races. Mike Edwards, Alan Johnson, V Gaines, all of these gentlemen that have contributed so much to our class. And the only couple that are left now, Jake Coughlin retired last year, Jason Line, all of these huge names that are gone now, and there's absolutely an influx of young blood in our class, and I feel like we have to give credit where credit's due, and you've been a part of this for a number of years now and seen what's gone on behind the scenes with Elite Motorsports working hand in hand with our biggest rival KB. Like, we put personal agendas aside for the better of the class. We made it cheaper to rent engines, to do a Richard calls it a ride and drive program, where you bring your helmet, you show up and race, and you don't have to own anything. And that's like TJ Coughlin's program right now. And, Aaron Stanfield running under our banner as well. So we have lowered the cost of pro stock. We've made it attainable. And I feel like that's the reason why you've seen a lot of the younger kids out there, like Kyle Koretsky. His dad raced pro stock for a long time. Mason McGaha, his dad raced for a long time as well, still does. Dallas Glenn is kind of a really cool story. It's like the J.R. Todd of pro stock, right? J.R. used to work on Bob Gilbertson's funny car and then worked his way into the cockpit. That's what Dallas Glenn has done, and he's doing a great job behind the wheel. So I feel like we've created what's in front of us right now, and I think it's really great. Having said that, I never figured that I would be, it'd be Greg Anderson and myself and a bunch of kids. But it's definitely an interesting position to be in, and the competition has risen significantly. And a lot of that has come from EFI and the rev limiter and the rule changes that came along with that. So it kind of the days of Greg and Jason Lyon at KB having 4, 5, 600s on the field are over. We're separating a 1 through 16 car field by just a couple hundredths of a second. So you have to be good. You cannot screw up, and it's definitely humbling, but it's really an exciting time for our class, I feel like.
I couldn't agree more, man. It's interesting because there's never been a time, I don't think, outside of here recently, that you hear like all these rumblings of, hey, so-and-so is going to try to go pro stock racing. So-and-so is trying to put a deal together. And I think, in years past, it was so expensive, and like a lot of people wouldn't even consider that as a pathway for their career or a pathway for their future. Whereas now it's becoming, I think we were crazy. I'm sure there's people watching along going, oh, it's affordable, my ass, or whatever. But in the grand scheme of things, when you compare it to many of the other pro level class, even pro modified, I think there's this big belief system that pro mod's much cheaper or much more affordable than pro stock. And here in 2021, it's just absolutely not the case. Much to your point, Erica, historically, it seems like there's always been a team in pro stock that is enjoying at least a slight performance advantage. Like it seems like there's always a camp that's got an edge. Here and now, though, again, to your point, it's tight. It's anybody's ball game. A multitude of drivers can make the difference, right, between a win and a loss on the starting line. How tough would a championship run here be for yourself in Elite Motorsports as you roll into the countdown?
Oh, it's definitely going to be a dogfight. It'll be a true challenge. There's a lot of tough competitors out there. I know exactly what we're capable of under our Elite Motorsports Elite Performance banner. I know the horsepower that goes into my toughest competitors right now, Aaron Stanfield and TJ Coughlin. And the KB guys are never any slouch. Greg Anderson's qualified on the pole most of the races this year. So it's going to be a challenge. I know what's ahead of us. And I was talking about this earlier today, Indy being the last regular season race. Well, the first 3 races of the countdown are back to back to back. And, that's a challenge in itself. So our rig stayed on the road from Indy, obviously, and they're getting parked today and getting ready. We're going to fly in tomorrow. And in the next 3 weeks, we're going to know exactly where we stand. So there will be no shortage of Tums eaten or, stress going on because this is important. This is what you sacrifice everything in your life for, friendships, marriages, funerals, birthdays, everything. You miss everything that is significant for one common goal. And that's something that all of us at Elite work for. And so it'll be a dogfight again, but as always, I put my money on us. It's this time of the season that the cream rises to the crop, and that is my group of men.
I'm in a situation where it's back to back races, and it's going to be about momentum. You're obviously got a full head of steam headed into this 3-week stretch. Do you like the position that it puts your group in? Would you bet against anybody else when it's back against the wall and we're out on the road? And is that a situation that you likely probably go, hey, this is where we're at our best?
Yep, I 100%. When our backs are against the wall, when the pressure is high, we perform every single time. And that's how I want it. Like this past US Nationals, not that anybody's a slouch, but it was stacked on the bottom half of the ladder. It was me, myself, Greg Anderson, TJ Coughlin, Aaron Stanfield, everybody except for Dallas Glenn and Kyle Koretsky, who were on top, was on the bottom half of the field. And when I saw the ladder on Saturday night, I was like, we're winning tomorrow, because we'd never win any other way than when it's the most challenging situations in the entire world. So, and that's something that I feel like you have to acquire. It's a learned trait, because you can, seat time is important, yes, but until you're in those situations and the cards are stacked against you, you don't understand how tough it is to perform when everybody's eyeballs are on you, when your back is against the wall, when it's for all the money and all the glory. And you have to learn how to do that. And I think that you'll see people crumble under that, and then you'll see people rise to the occasion on that. And that's something that we've learned over the years.
Would you rather? I mean, it seems like I've said this for the last couple of years, especially last year. It just feels like there's such an incredible storyline, the back and forth between you and Greg Anderson. Obviously, I know you guys are fierce competitors on the track, and you're friendly. I've seen you guys. You know, I think people like to believe it's going to be like a fist fight anytime you guys bump into each other at Applebee's or something. But but there is a real serious professional rivalry between you two. Is it exciting? Does it help you get up on the tire? Like, we can talk about all those young guns, and that's great. But is it kind of exciting for you and something that adds a little bit of motivation to go, all right, if I've got to go through anybody, I want to go through that guy?
Yeah, and it goes back to saying, to be the best, you have to beat the best. And I would rather race Greg Anderson or Aaron Stanfield or Jed Coughlin or Jason. I would rather have them first round every single time than to have a round where you're just kind of expected to win. I'd rather just have to have it where it's high pressure and it means everything. So I feel like we perform better there. So I
What do
welcome
you
it.
attribute in your past to being so comfortable in those moments that typically people crumble in? Because we've seen it time and time again, like, hey, you got to win this round. We're outmatched. You're probably going to have to leave on them. Time and time again, it's been about you stepping up to the challenge and embracing this moment. Is there something with your dad, or is there something that you can look to in your past that has made you so comfortable in that moment? Because most people want to go their lives. I mean, it's great when you have those moments and you triumph, but it's not something that everybody seems to be so comfortable with and so good at. Is there something that you can point to that's given you that kind of secret superpower?
Yeah, I definitely give all the credit to my dad. Before his success in the business world, he was a positive mental attitude coach. He went and taught seminars on the importance of expecting what you want and speaking things into existence. So my sister and I were really blessed to grow up in a house where that was at the top of the list every single day. We weren't allowed to say, I can't. We had to rephrase it. Anything that we spoke negatively, he said we had to dig it up and we had to rephrase it. So it's kind of like you train yourself to expect great things. You visualize only the things that you want to happen. Now, that's not saying that it's not a challenge when those negative thoughts do poke in your head. But at the beginning, that's how we were raised. And my dad has kept going with that throughout my professional career. He was, talking to me on the phone on Sunday, and Courtney, who's my forever hype girl, like, when I get in my own head, she gets me out of it. She's the last person in my door before I hit the starter button. So all of those things are extremely important. But going back to like getting into a pro stock car, like you have to learn how to do this. You have to learn to perform in those situations. And you have to acquire thick skin, which is also not something that I had naturally. I had to figure out how to get there, and I'm still learning. But I feel like being treated poorly, or having your teeth pulled on purpose by a team member, or being faced with all these different adversities makes you better, makes you stronger. When you're going through it, you don't necessarily think that way. And there are days I put my head down on my desk and cry. I'm like, why do I even do this? But it's those moments that make you shine when it matters. It makes the good great.
Thank you. No, I got goosebumps. That was a great answer. I didn't even have that question written down. But seriously, because you have to wonder, like, what is it that equips people with like the emotional skills required to thrive in what we all know. It's obviously tense in the, hey, we want to win and the points implications, but there's all sorts of other things going on at any given time. And to be able to rise up time and time again, I'm just massively impressed by it. There was a meeting, apparently. I wasn't a part of it, but I heard about it later. The NHRA came over to the pits, kind of rallied, got all the pro stock guys and gals together to talk about the future of the class. And by all accounts, it was a really positive endeavor, a really positive meeting. Can you give us a little insight? Do you feel like, I mean, we were just talking about it, one of the most exciting storylines that exist in drag racing right now is you and Greg Anderson going head to head. It's been that story for the last couple of years. There's all these old highlights we can use, and there's all these old little stories that we can use to support the story. Do you feel like NHRA is kind of recognizing the diamond in the rough they have with pro stock drag racing right now?
Yeah, I'm definitely hopeful that they are. And I feel like they are more all ears than they have been in the past. And they're trying to work hand in hand with us. I feel like Greg and Richard have the best interest of the class, and they're the two that kind of spearheaded this movement to get all of these other people involved, like we talked about a little bit ago. But having NHRA on board, it definitely makes it better rather than having them as a roadblock, because they have been in the past, and they continue to have a very interesting mindset at times, instead of having the bigger picture in mind. And I feel like you're so tremendous at marketing and promotion, and you have that same passion that Mark Ingersoll has for our sport. And I feel like the Orlando Door Slammer Nationals is a perfect example of that. When you love something so much, it turns out a success, no matter what. So yeah, I mean, the meeting went well. I feel like the Dallas race is going to be really cool. The what is it? The Texas
Stampede of Speed. Yeah, like a week-long deal.
Yeah, like concerts and fireworks and pub crawls and a movie viewing with Don the Snake Perdome. And then we're going to get to test. The pros are going to get to test on Wednesday. And the sportsman guys are running the Houston National before they run the Dallas National, because Houston got rained out for the sportsman guys. So the whole week is going to be packed full of excitement. And they're giving us travel expenses. They're giving us low qualifying money, which has not happened since K&N disappeared from the scene. And it's just, I feel like it's getting better, right? It's got to be getting
exciting,
better.
man. I mean, and a lot of times it doesn't take and I've tried to tell this to folks before, that it's not, I don't know that any of these team owners or drivers expect a back rub and $1 million, but
No.
a little goes a long way. Like a little bit of something to make them feel good and to make them feel appreciated. And before I bring Lyle Barnett on here, I know Lyle I've been trying to get Lyle on to ask some questions this whole time. I've been kind of flying solo without Murder Tundra and Mike Carpenter here today, but I do want to ask you, and this, I don't want this to skew negative because I'm the hopelessly optimistic guy, but I'm sure it had to break your heart to hear the news about Houston Raceway Park. What's your take on that? Do you think that there's a future for quarter mile national event level drag racing in Houston, Texas? Because it's one of the biggest, most significant markets in the country. I can't hardly imagine the NHRA not going there. What's your take on that whole situation as a Houston native?
Well, I knew it was coming, being friends with the Angel family and having grown up racing junior dragsters with them, being part of the bracket program every weekend out there. It's definitely sad. I mean, if I ever have kids one day, right, I can't even take them back to show them where it first started, because there'll be some industrial building there. But same thing that happened with Atlanta. They're bulldozing it to make apartments. It's super sad to see a giant piece of history go away. But again, times are so weird right now. I just read on my Houston News app, they're taking another statue down in Virginia. It's just what is going on in the world right now? I have no idea, but we just have to make the best of it, and we're going to move forward. But absolutely, I think that we would be missing out as a sanctioning body and as a sport to not have a drag race in the fourth largest city in the country on the footprint of the United States. I mean, it's such a huge market. It's got so many media outlets, and it's such a great part of the world. I mean, I know I'm a little biased because I'm from there, but home is home no matter where you are. But Houston is great. So I've heard scuttlebutt, over the past couple of years about something happening in Austin, but I don't know if it will or what will happen in Houston. But I definitely am hopeful that it will.
You and me both, E. I'm going to bring Lyle on here real quick. And he's obviously, we're all super fans of Eric. I don't know if you saw this. My daughter's saying hi, Eric.
Hi, Soph.
Lyle, I've been wanting to have you part of these conversations throughout, but we've had limited time with Steve Torrance because he's got to go to a doctor's appointment. He's got, my God, that's unbelievable. Then Tim's got a little bit of a questionable connection. I think I'm going to start sending iPhones. I'm going to announce the lineup of the show, and then I'm going to overnight iPhones to everybody or something. I'm not sure, but we've got to have a strategy.
Flying them in and just having them in the studio with you.
That day's coming. When we reach that Joe Rogan level, and that day's coming, that will be the plan. We're just going to fly people in. We'll do them all in studio. Lyle, what do you got for teammate / greatest drag racer of all time, Erica Enders?
Well, first of all, we had to leave before Erica got back from the top end. So, congratulations. You said it earlier. I've never seen a team rally behind a driver like the Elite Motorsports crew does. Now, I haven't spent a whole lot of time in the pits and got to see what goes on prior to a final round and kind of how everybody pitches in when, you know, you were the only car left from the Elite side and there were crew members from every single team that had a job to do to get you guys turned around in a hurry. And it's cool to be a part of that and be associated with that team. But just congratulations to all of you. You know, it was what you guys did on race day was pretty special.
Thank you.
But my question, I've been reading through the comments, and a question that I would ask you, because you're the only one in the group that's experienced it, is I see a lot of, we don't agree with the countdown. We hate the countdown. I think they should do away with the countdown. I've seen it a bunch of times. So to you, I would ask, and in my opinion, I'll give my opinion first and then let you answer. To somebody that has dominated this year like Steve Torrence has in Top Fuel, at this point in the season, he said it would mathematically, everybody else in the class would be out of contention to win the championship this year, which would, in my opinion, give someone like myself, if I was the Alex Laughlin with Scott Palmer, what's the point in running the rest of the year, you know, if you're out of contention? So my question to you is, with or without the countdown, which way would you go? Which way do you go? Do you like it? Do you dislike it, and why?
I've won world championships in both situations. So it is what it is, right? It's their sandbox and we just play in it. So whether people on the internet want to talk crap about it or not, it's the rules that have been written and it's what we have to go by. You know, in 2014, it came down to the final round at the final race for winner take all between myself and Jason Line. And then in 2015, we turned around and we didn't even have to go to Pomona. Like we locked it up and would have won either way. You know, if there was not a countdown this year, Greg Anderson has a substantial lead on the class. I think it was 170 points. That's almost 2 race wins ahead of anybody else. That's some tough ground to make up. So I feel like there are positives and negatives, and depending on your personal agenda or your situation in that current year, that's where your opinion's going to fall. So this year, I guess, yeah, I'm thankful for it. But either way, you got to go out and you got to perform. So we have 6 races left. It's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be tough. There are a lot of kids that are nipping at our heels. Greg's got a really fast race car. I have a great race car. And I feel like it's going to come down to the driver, and I'm really excited about that opportunity.
You gotta like anytime it comes down to the driver, that seems like a place you want it to be. And it's really a great point because I can see both sides of it. You know, the whole countdown argument, there's a part of me that goes, man, we don't have to just do everything NASCAR does. We don't have to just do everything that stick and ball sports do. However, drag racing has always been like the ultimate sudden death competition, right? Like there's no pit stops. There's no, hey, go in and we're going to put a little, you know, counter steer in it or whatever, right? I mean, you always have to do it right now. Right now, you got to win. This matters. And I think that this is just kind of, it's the reality of drag racing on steroids, or like infinitely amplified. That it does stink that some of the early season performances, I'm not going to say nullified, but isn't maybe as significant. I mean, significant as it would be if it was just a traditional points earning situation. But I think that there's pluses and minuses, and Erica and company proved it a couple of years ago when they skipped. Didn't you guys skip the entire Western swing and go on to win the championship?
We did. We missed Sonoma and Seattle. We went to Denver. When we left Denver, we had a substantial points lead. We did not really have the funding, and Richard wanted to go on his family vacation, so we missed Sonoma and Seattle. And when we got back to Brainerd, we qualified really well. First round, I remember this like it was yesterday. I was trip zip on the tree, and we had a transmission failure, and I lost first round to Dave River. So we went from a substantial points lead to no points lead at all, leaving Brainerd. So that definitely changed the scenario for the final races of the year. But that was 2014 when it came down to the final round with Jason Line. So yeah, we skipped 2 that year.
What a name drop from my old Maquoketa, Iowa buddy, Dave River. I think that might be the first time I talked about old Dangerous Dave on the show. I'm glad we got to do that. Well, E, thank you so much. I know you told me you have another interview butted right up against this one. Thanks for taking the time and being flexible with us. It's been a treat to have you on here. We'll do this again, longer form and no holds barred again in the future. But it was great to see you this weekend. Congratulations on a big win, and we'll see you on down the road. I think my next stop will be the Texas race, which is now my home race, which is like the most exciting thing in the world. So anyways, we'll see you soon, Erica. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. And thanks for what you do for our sport.
Hey, it's a labor of love. No worries. Thank you so much.